Most companies right now are making AI decisions without full visibility, and it's already showing up in margin loss, failed execution, and a weakening competitive position. Today, we're going to walk through 4 things you need to see before you commit to any major AI investment. Firstly, why most companies are operating blind. Second, the hidden risks that are already inside your operation. Third, what AI readiness actually means. And lastly, how a simple diagnostic reveals what will break before you start. And at the end of the webinar, I'll give you the exact framework and checklist we use so you can use it immediately. Most companies don't fail implementing AI because of the technology. They fail because they don't realize they're exposed to risk until they've already committed. I've worked in environments where failure wasn't an option all my career. I started as a weapons engineer officer on nuclear submarines. Then after my military service, I worked in the nuclear power industry, specializing in security and emergency management. And then I moved into more of a corporate role where I was doing corporate crisis management and change management training. And now I'm focusing on helping businesses effectively implement AI to be able to compete in the years that are ahead. But the pattern that I've seen remains the same throughout. And the biggest risks facing your organization are the ones that you don't see. So we're going to look at today why most companies are operating blind when it comes to AI readiness and what you can do about it. So here's a sobering statistic. 74% of executives regret at least one AI decision they've made in the last year. And 50% of those are concerned about their role or their job future as a direct result of that decision. And these are problems that are not technology failures, they are decision failures under uncertainty. Leaders committed without clarity, and they had a strategy before they had visibility. So if you've made even one AI-related decision in the last 12 months, there's a high probability you've made it without full visibility. Now, this has a significant impact on your business. 26% of companies have reported at least a 16% margin erosion due to their AI spend. So the companies that get AI implementation wrong are taking a major hit to their margin. On the other side of the coin, the companies that have implemented AI correctly are seeing a 1.6 times improvement in EBIT and margin. So the issue is not the effectiveness of AI. The issue is the effectiveness of implementing AI in your business. AI is creating real winners, but it's also exposing everybody else who are not ready for implementation. And there's many use cases where this could be showing up in your P&L at the moment. Let's say that your marketing team adopts AI tools. This slows their performance down, so the cost increased by 30%. There's no immediate attribution to where this cost increase came from. There's no clear ROI for what they're trying to do with AI, and it just shows as margin erosion to the business. Added to that, Gartner gave us a report at the end of last year that 90% of B2B purchases will be made by AI agents in 2028. Now, this represents a B2B market spend of $15 trillion. And what they said in that report is AI agents won't assist in the buying, they will actually execute it. And if your business is not visible to AI, you won't lose deals, you won't even be considered. So this means that your company doesn't need to be implementing AI internally. You also need to be tooling up to be visible to AI externally. Now, there is some good news. This problem is solvable, but only if you approach this correctly. And this is what we're going to talk about for the rest of this webinar. So, you don't have time to wait. You don't have time to keep kicking the can down the road or pushing this off. One of the things that we are recommending to all of our clients is that they stop treating AI as a technology project and start treating it as a corporate change management program. And if you look at the world's leading expert in corporate change management, that's John Kotter of the Harvard Business School. He says that it takes at least 3 years to fully implement a corporate change management program. And it can be as long as 10 years, depending on the complexity of the business. So let's just trace this back. If you need to be ready for B2B procurement being fully AI agent by 2028, you should be scaling up in 2027, which means you should be building your systems in 2026, which means you should have got your planning and your corporate change management program established in 2025. So if you're not going to get locked out of 90% of the B2B market space, you're a year behind the curve. And this is going to expand. You can't afford to wait. You have to take action to make sure that you don't get frozen out of that marketplace. So what I would like to do is just do a quick poll and just see how where your businesses are in the preparation for AI. So I've just opened up the poll there, and we'll see how this is affecting people. So there is a bit of a lag on LinkedIn for information to come through. So while we're waiting for the results to come in, what we typically find is that most small and medium businesses are at step 2 or step 3. They are exploring and planning for AI, or they have not yet made that commitment. But as I say, with the urgency that we're seeing based on John Kotter's research, you don't have much longer to wait. If you're not already moving, what you will find is that the gap is widening and you are not at the starting line, you're already behind it. So let's look at the hidden risks that we see in most businesses when they start to commit to an AI program. And AI doesn't create the problems. AI is simply an amplifier. One of the things that we like to express to our clients is AI will amplify the good things in your business. And this is where businesses who have got their processes and procedures in place are seeing a 1.6 improvement in their EBIT. It will also amplify the weaknesses and the vulnerabilities in your business and your process. So if you commit to AI without understanding where those vulnerabilities are, you can be putting your business at a serious risk. So when I was in the submarine service on patrol, we had an operating principle that we called OTS. And this was the basis that there's always an enemy submarine out there somewhere. And just the fact that we haven't detected that threat doesn't mean we're safe. The threat is still there, it still exists, and not seeing it doesn't make us safe. And the same is true in your business operations. Okay, AI, as I said, does not introduce these risks. It amplifies them, it magnifies them, and you can be assured that those risks will come to a head at the worst possible moment in your business. So these are the main areas where we see the cost of operating blind. Leadership misalignment. Whenever you have human beings working together, there's always the opportunity for misunderstanding and misalignment. And this is present in all businesses. In most cases, we can work around it. We can review, we can realign, we can discuss. But when we amplify this and pressure test it with AI, those misalignments will appear in the business in a catastrophic way. Similarly, looking at your business processes, I've never worked with a company or an operation where their processes and procedures have been absolutely perfect. There's always weaknesses, there's always gaps. And typically, a human operator can work around those gaps. They can bridge the gap between the written process and the desired output. But when you hand this over to AI, which doesn't have that ability, doesn't have the operational experience of the human being, those processes will break when you try and amplify them and scale them with AI. And the third biggest issue that we see in this is change fatigue. Many businesses have tried to initiate change management programs or AI programs, and they have not been successful. They've had to stop and restart. This loses credibility with the team, and it also means that they are much more likely to resist future initiatives. And one of the things that John Cotter teaches in his corporate change management research is that you need to give the team some quick wins. You need to get them engaged. You need to get them on board and give them a sense of confidence that they will see benefits from the overall change. And most organizations that believe they're early into AI are just really setting themselves up because they are already exposed, because they haven't done the background work to make sure that those risks will not appear at the worst possible moment. So the 5 hidden risks, as I've said, leadership misalignment. It breaks under pressure, especially when we get people who are in different departments who have different objectives, and the AI strategy did not account for the whole end-to-end workflow. Another area where there is always weakness in a business is data quality and data management. And what we find is that although that data can be massaged and manipulated by a human operator, AI systems live or die by the quality of the data that we feed to them. And when we pressure test that data under load, it fails. And then we get bad outcomes, we get bad outputs. And it's the old adage, garbage in, garbage out. Again, with a system-wide AI implementation, there will be cross-departmental boundaries with the processes. And so a process that may span 3 departments, when it's done with human beings, there's always the opportunity to resolve any disconnects at the handoff. If you try and do this through AI and haven't clarified the procedural handoffs, those errors will multiply and they will compound at scale as you apply more AI into your business. I mentioned change fatigue before, and I saw a statistic last week, which was quite shocking. 44% of Gen X employees admit to having sabotaged or tried to sabotage their company's AI initiative. And this was predominantly based on what they call FOBO, fear of becoming obsolete. And those companies that have tried to replace employees en masse by AI are typically rehiring within a couple of months because they realize that AI doesn't have the human experience needed to massage and to carry a weak process or a weak operating system. So it's critical as part of your change management process that you engage with your staff and that you present AI not as a replacement for the human operators, but as a way of empowering them to give them greater value, greater job satisfaction, so that they can get more done during the transition and then after AI is implemented in the business. And finally, as we look at the systematization of AI throughout the organization, you need an overarching change owner. And according to the corporate change management research, you need a high-level executive who is tasked specifically with delivering the corporate change program. Now, unfortunately, most companies discover these issues after they've invested in their program. And these are the failure points that we like to help companies identify before they commit to implementation. So it's always better to understand what you're getting into before you're fully committed. And one of the stories I share with people, and again, this comes back from my submarine days, when we go from deep to periscope depth, we actually pass through a layer of the ocean where acoustic performance drops off dramatically. So as you're coming up from deep, you're coming up to periscope depth, and your acoustic performance drops so that you become blind. And there's a class of vessel that we call VLSS, very large surface ships. And these are the super tankers. And they can be as much as a third of a mile long and weigh over 500,000 tons. And there's an additional problem with this class of ship because the noise source, which is the propeller, is a third of a mile behind the bow. So if you come up to periscope depth directly in front of one of these ships, it's making almost no noise. And another thing with the design of these ships is the way the bows are designed, the acoustic energy is diffused into the ocean, so they're very difficult to detect. So knowing that that risk exists, we don't just blindly go ahead. What we do is we raise the periscope while we're still dived, and the officer of the watch is then scanning the surface picture through the periscope, even while we're dived, to see if there is any shadow or any sign that we're going to be coming up directly in the path of one of these huge merchant ships. And it's the same philosophy that was pointed out to us by IBM research. What they've said is that if you try and fix an issue after it's been implemented, you're looking at 10 to 100 times the cost of actually mitigating the issue before it started. And that's exactly what we would like to do, help you identify the issues, avoid them, mitigate them before you end up with a huge cost and a huge expense to correct an issue after it's been implemented. And as I said, AI is an amplifier. AI just accelerates your exposure, and then you discover the problem too late if you haven't got a clear picture of the potential risk areas in your business. So looking at historical information, this is not talking about AI specifically, this is talking about digital transformation in general. But typically the statistics are that 70% of digital transformations fail to meet the expectations of the executive team. And again, it's the old areas that we spoke of: leadership alignment, capability gaps, failed change management. And AI implementation follows the same pattern. And it's not technology that's the variable, it is the organizational readiness. And I've got firsthand experience of this. I was actually asked by a multinational engineering company to join a global IT rollout project. They were running 3 programs in parallel. The program I was asked to join was at critical risk of failing. So I was asked to join it. We stopped the program. We completely revamped the corporate change management structure behind the program. And eventually we managed to get that program delivered and rolled out to all of their program managers, their project managers across the division globally. The other 2 projects did not have that benefit of stopping, looking at the problems, and then changing course. And the other 2 projects did not deliver. So the statistic is 2 out of 3 IT projects fail. And that cost that company $50 million over 5 years, and only got 1 of the 3 change initiatives they actually wanted to get. Now, as I've said before, AI is an amplifier. So when we look at the statistics with AI, and this comes from an MIT report at the end of 2025, 95% of generative AI projects fail to deliver any measurable business impact. And again, as I said, AI isn't failing because of the technology, it's failing because the organizations aren't ready to implement correctly. So what does AI readiness actually mean to us? Well, it's more than just the tools. AI implementation should not be regarded as a technical IT project. If you are going to succeed, you must adapt your mindset to say, this is going to have such wide-ranging impact on our business, on our company, on our organization, that we have to treat this as a formal corporate change management program. When you adopt that mindset, you're in a much better position to succeed. So, continuing in the theme of prevention versus recovery, if you take a pause to go through a risk assessment, you can surface critical risks before you commit. And these risk assessments can be done in a matter of days for minimal costs. If you choose to steam ahead blindly and end up in a high-risk situation or high-risk failure, then you end up in recovery mode. And from the research we're seeing, project failure recovering a failed project, as I said before, costs between 10 and 100 times more than it does to implement it. And the sort of figures that we're seeing based on the results over the last couple of years, failed AI projects cost anywhere between $1 and $10 million, depending on the size of the business. And they take between 12 and 24 months to recover the lost momentum. Now, if you apply that back to the statement that we have 3 years to get small and medium-sized businesses ready for AI-based B2B procurement, losing 18 months on a program could be absolutely catastrophic. So getting risk visibility before you commit to a major change program is the only way to prevent structural defects that would adversely affect your business. Now, there is a plus side to this. If you go through the discipline of implementing a change management program, the first step is to get your leadership team aligned on the objectives. The probability of your program succeeding increases by a factor of 2.6. And so when senior leadership is aligned and engaged in the corporate change management program, there is a much, much higher chance of successfully delivering your AI implementation. And this means that AI implementation readiness is not just a corporate checkbox. It is, in fact, a potentially huge competitive advantage to the businesses that do it right. And as we showed you earlier, that's a 1.6 increase in EBIT as opposed to a 26% reduction in margin. Now, one of the problems that we see is that most organizations don't know if they're aligned or not. They just assume they are. So bringing this all together, what does this mean for you? Well, we've talked about why most companies are operating blind. We've talked about the hidden risks that are in your organization. And we've talked about what AI readiness actually means. It's not an IT project, it's a corporate change management project. So let's now go to the next stage, which is how to implement that diagnostic that will reveal the risks early so that you don't suffer the loss and don't suffer the excess expense of having to go into a recovery program. And as I said before, at the end of this webinar, I will give you the exact framework and checklist that we use to make sure that your business is ready for AI implementation. So what we do is we use a system called the sonar diagnostic, and this will reveal to you what will break before you actually start or before you commit major investments into AI transformation. So the sonar readiness assessment stands for strategic leadership, operational data, normalized processes, aligned people, and risk and compliance. And this will give you clarity as to where the major hotspots, the potential failure points in your business are, so that you can take proactive actions to mitigate those risks before they turn into a crisis or an issue that will cost you huge losses in time and momentum and budget. If we do a full assessment, the deliverables would be a risk and readiness analysis, a full briefing for the executive team, and an executive level briefing and report to give you ideas as to where you may have been misaligned in your approach. So some of the findings could be, we see that you're investing AI in sales, but actually there's a much higher ROI opportunity in operations. Or we see that the data pipeline will fail under automation load, thus creating unreliable outputs, which will then propagate through your entire system, resulting in some sort of catastrophic failure down the road. What we often see is there's no clear owner for AI transformation, which significantly increases the execution risk. And in many cases, we see that companies have many opportunities for AI implementation. They try and what we call boiling the ocean. They try and do them all in parallel. And that is not a best practice in corporate change management. What we should do is look for the quick win, the easy win that we can implement quickly to get credibility for the change management program, to give the team confidence in the outcome of the program, and also to have the potential for getting it right and for reaping the benefits of a well-executed program. At the end of the assessment, the executive, the management team will know where to focus, what to fix first, and what to do next. So there are 3 levels of response to this information. The first one is that you can do a self-assessment, and that self-assessment would be a snapshot of where you are today. It's a fixed point in time. It gives you immediate risk visibility. And as I said, if you want to take this, I've put the QR code, so you are welcome to scan that QR code and download the self-assessment questionnaire, and that will help you get your snapshot of your immediate risk position. If you want to go deeper than that, then the level 2 is what we call the executive diagnostic session. That's a 15-minute working session. It focuses on your current initiatives, but also looks where you want to go in the future. So it's forward looking. And we identify the immediate risks and gaps to where you want to go. And then this diagnostic will determine if you need to do a deeper analysis. And this is where we determine what is actually going on in the business. If you would like to schedule a diagnostic session, the QR code there, just scan that, and that will allow you to book one of the complimentary sessions, which will allow you to then move this forward. The checklist is a very simple document. We've actually expanded it recently. We've added a 6th section, which is corporate change management readiness. And we've added that because we see that corporate change management is so important to the success of AI implementation that we felt that deserved a review in its own right. So the AI implementation readiness self-assessment checklist is yours, free to download. Just scan the QR code and you're welcome to add that to your portfolio. If you need to go deeper, then the level 3 would be a full AI readiness assessment. And this looks at all the 6 domains. We identify the high impact risk and AI opportunities. You would get a prioritized implementation roadmap, the executive AI readiness report, and you would have clarity about the next logical steps for execution and the immediate actions that you would need to be taking for risk mitigation. This is where you can turn clarity into strategy. So it's your decision. Most companies are operating without visibility. They are waiting unknowingly for hidden risks to surface, and that will always be at the worst possible time. And the AI implementation readiness assessment determines the outcomes, not the tools. So it gives you the strategy, it gives you the vision as to where you want to go with your business to be ready for AI. And you then have the choice. You can continue to move forward blindly, or you can scan for the picture first before you end up in a serious risk situation. Unfortunately, many businesses choose option 1, which is to be passively exploring AI without a clear roadmap. They test the tools in isolation without understanding the dependencies across the business. And they discover the risks only after they've already cost you time, budget, and project momentum. Some businesses are taking a more strategic approach, and they are identifying where AI will drive results and give them the best ROI. They are looking to surface the risks long before they adversely impact your business. And the executive team can then move forward with a clear executable plan that you can implement. So the question that you have to answer is, how are you going to identify these risks before they cost you in time, budget, and momentum? If you decide to go for the complementary diagnostic, this is a 15-minute session. You will get understanding where you are with your current initiatives. We can identify immediate risks or gaps and determine whether you need that deeper analysis. It's a complementary working session. It's the first step, and that's what you can book with us. It's not a sales call. It's meant to be a working session to give you clarity as to what to do for your next step. There's no preparation required. Just bring your current thinking and be open to a frank discussion about where the risks and opportunities are in your AI implementation plan. If we decide that a deeper analysis is required, we can go to the full sonar assessment, and this will look at all 6 domains. It's a deeper, much more structured engagement, and the idea is that this will review all the 6 critical areas of your business. We will surface those risks that could derail your implementation plan. We will assess your true state of readiness, not based on assumptions, but based on what's really been discovered. And we will identify 2 or 3 very high impact AI opportunities specific to your business that we can recommend as the quick wins, the confidence builders that John Cotter recommends you need to plan in to your corporate change management initiative. So the idea of the sonar assessment is that we'll surface the risk before they impact your business and give you a very clear way ahead to implement AI effectively and not be in the 95% of businesses that fail to get any benefit from their AI commitment. So if there are any questions, now is the time. Please feel free to drop your questions in the chat. And if you've got anything that you want to talk to me about, more than happy to address it now. Now we have, as Susan has just pointed out there, we have 200 people registered for this webinar. So I obviously will not be able to address every single question while we're live. But if you have a question that you would, like us to address, then after we finish the webinar, please just drop a message to Susan and we will answer it directly to you. And if you've got a question that you don't want to raise publicly, by all means, please send that to Susan as well, and we will send you a private response. So just to go back and look at the poll, we actually had 100% of the people who responded said that they actually have AI programs underway. So this is obviously much more important for those companies that have already committed to AI to make sure that they're not steaming into danger. They're not going to come up in a high risk, high loss situation because there are gaps or risks that they haven't identified before commitment. So we don't have any questions coming up live. So please, if you have anything that you want to address, send Susan a message and she'll make sure that we get an answer to you so that we can get that information for you. And we've had a couple of people said that they would like to see the QR code again. So I will go there now for you. So these are the resources that we talked about today. The first one is the sonar assessment. So that QR code there, the sonar self-assessment, gives you the option or the ability to download the self-assessment checklist. And this is with our compliments. So please feel free to look at that and use it. And if you would like to go straight into the diagnostic, again, just scan that QR code. That will give you a booking link and you can reserve your complimentary 15-minute diagnostic without much more ado. So that's all I have for you today. I've gone a little bit over time and I apologize for that. There was a lot to cover. So what I would like to do is just give you a heads up as to next month's webinar. We're actually running this as a 10-part series for the whole of the rest of the year. So the May webinar is going to look at how you can take this risk of AI implementation and really leverage it into a massive competitive advantage for your business. So that'll be on May the 28th at 2 p.m. Central, 1400. And we look forward to seeing you there. So if there are no more questions or comments, I will close this now. I appreciate everybody who participated and responded to the poll. And we look forward to connecting with you. And hopefully, if you need more information, you'll be able to go through the recording. I will also be putting up a resource page with all the information, all the links, so that you have everything you need in one place. So thanks again for your time. And I wish you all the best with your AI implementation.